Sunday, September 14th. It is 2:23 p.m. and Lee and I are in our canoe on the river. The rest of the team is up on shore talking about corn. Lee and I just decided to ask our own question to you guys. What do you guys do with corn? Really think about how you use it in your own life. And what do you do with corn? That's what we wondering.
September 14th in the afternoon, and behind me here is a cornfield that's about 30 or 40 feet from the river. And as you can see, there's a lot of grasses and some trees in between the cornfield and the river, which is great, usually, because that allows for some of the excess water and fertilizer to be filtered out before it reaches the river. That's good. It could be wider. However, to counteract that is this pipe right here called it's called tile, and farmers lay these pipes under their cornfields to actually drain the water into the pipes and then send it out in the chance of a storm event where there's so much water, and that water mixes with the excess nitrogen fertilizer, and this pipe will carry it and send it right out to the river and cause algae. We've seen a lot of duckweed and bad stuff to occur to the river. So this is one of the main sources of pollution along the Illinois. Okay, there's so much we can talk about.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out things that are related to the river.
Yeah.
This is an irrigation pipe that's bringing water from the river and sending it up to the cornfields up top. So water from the river onto the cornfields and water from the cornfields back out to the river. Dun 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 na 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 ba 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 da 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 na 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 ba la ba ba.
September 14th. Okay, so I'm standing in this huge cornfield, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the corn plant itself. It's a really cool plant. You can see the roots are really shallow, which is interesting, and it's easy for water to run over it. It grows up in these segments, and it can get, as you can see, really high. This one's probably like 9 or 10 feet tall, like a basketball hoop. And each corn plant has between 1 and 3 ears of corn on it. So you can also see that each plant has these like threads on it, and each thread connects directly with a kernel of corn. And each thread needs to be pollinated in order for the kernel to develop. And the way it's pollinated is up top here. These like little tassels produce pollen, and then it falls down onto the corn and onto these threads. And that's one reason why it's beneficial to grow corn amongst other corn, is it increases the chances of pollination because you have lots of pollen blowing around. So corn is wind pollinated. This also means that it can pollinate other farmers' fields because it can get carried pretty significant distances by the wind to pollinate other corn. Another thing you'll notice is that it's a really like large and substantive plant. And it's a heavy feeder, so it extracts a lot of nutrients out of the soil to build itself. So that's just a little bit about corn. It's really cool. It's cool stuff.
Corn, nice. Ugh. This is terrible. In fact, this kind of corn isn't even used as human food. Ugh. Instead, each of these kernels could end up in basically anywhere in the world. They could go on an amazing adventure all across the globe to different countries, different processing facilities. So say this kernel might end up shipping down to Illinois, back up the Mississippi to Mankato, Minnesota, where one of the largest ethanol plants is. And then it'll go into a car somewhere. And this one here, I think this one's probably gonna go down the Mississippi River to the Rio Grande and into Texas, into one of the massive feedlots and into some cattle's belly. But cattle they weren't evolved to eat corn, so it's not gonna be very, very healthy for it. This one here, this one's probably going to go down the Mississippi, into the Gulf of Mexico, across the Panama Canal, across the Pacific Ocean, and to China. Corn is actually one of the biggest exports from the U.S. because we grow so darn much of it. So what do we do with all this excess corn? Well, why not make it into high fructose corn syrup? Or maybe a food additive, like a dye. Maybe let's just make it into a plastic cup. You know, this could become all sorts of things, and it's only the reason that we make so many things out of corn is because we grow so darn much of it.
September 14th. So we talked a little bit about our food system and kind of a couple of different issues with it. Growing one type of corn and soybean isn't necessarily the best for river health, and it's also very susceptible to pests and diseases. But something that's really important to remember is that farmers aren't villains. Farmers are working within a system that's provided to them mostly through policy from the federal government. And really, they're growing food that supports our entire economy. They're growing food for the entire country and for the world. And it's important to remember not to villainize farmers. They're just creating a livelihood for themselves and for their families, and they work really hard and do a really important job. So that's something about our food system, that farmers are important.